I had worked all that out. And obviously there was some stuff that was really, really deep down inside of me where I had felt that my power had been taken away by this guy. I felt like this guy stole a bit of my sovereignty and my agency. And I didn't realize that I was still holding on to that in my body, viscerally, like deep down inside. But through this circular breathing, I was able to let go and release and really like feel like I didn't have that in my body anymore. Hey guys, it's Francisca. Thanks for joining me for today's video about breathwork and tarot and how I combine those two modalities to help people release trauma from their body. In this video, I'll be sharing why I combine tarot and breathwork, what type of breathwork I use, and what type of response people normally get from a tarot and breathwork session. So the type of breathwork that I use is called Conscious Connected Breathing or circular breathing. This type of breathwork really helps to get a physiological response from the body, meaning that there's a mental, an emotional, and a physical release that happens when you do this type of breathwork. It also helps that you get to throw in a few yells while you're doing this breathwork. It takes about 20 to 28 minutes, depending on how long the session is, of the active breathing where you're doing the circular breathing. And you have about 15 to 30 minutes, sometimes even 60 minutes of processing time where you're actually allowing the body to work through those emotions that have arisen, those physical sensations that have come up, and those mental thoughts and blocks that have come up. And so you're releasing those in that inactive phase where you're just laying there and allowing the body to do what it needs to do, the mind to do what it needs to do, the spirit even to do what it needs to do. This type of breathing is a 3-part breath. You breathe really deeply into the belly, really deeply into the chest, and then you let it out like a sigh or on the exhale. And all of this breathing is done with an open mouth. So it's not like your typical pranayama where you're always breathing in through your nose and then sometimes out through your mouth or out through your nose. The inhale and the exhale is done with an open mouth. And so you have to do this type of breath work laying down on the floor because it is so intense. And you may have like physical blocks that come up with doing this breath work. You may have emotional blocks that come up when doing this breath work. And you might also have some mental blocks that come up when doing this type of breath work. The physical blocks that you may feel when doing circular breathing are tingling sensations in your body, feeling like you want to get up and move, feeling like you want to pass out, and feeling like you might get crampy or wanting to cramp up, which is called tetany. The emotional blocks that you may feel is like, I don't want to feel these feelings. Like you may want to cry, you may want to yell, you may want to feel like it's too much to handle. And then the mental blocks that may come up is like, I don't want to do this. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know what's going on with my body. I feel like I'm going to die. I don't know what these sensations are in my body, what's going on. And what happens when you do this type of breath work, again, you're releasing trauma. Trauma gets stuck in our bodies for various different reasons. Either we don't process feelings and we don't let these emotions go out, or it was too much for us to handle at that time, and we didn't know, we didn't have the tools to be able to process the things that happened to us. Or we may have talked to them about somebody, but there may be some residual things that the body remembers. Bessel van Kolk wrote the book The Body Keeps a Score, which is an amazing book. If you've gone through any trauma or helping anybody release trauma, it's a really great book and reference point for a lot of this information. But our body keeps and holds on to these things that happen to us, and it's imprinted in our cellular body. And so for that reason, we may have things that we thought we worked out a long time ago with a therapist and that may still be stuck in our body. For example, I thought I had worked a bunch of stuff out, and I was like, well, I don't have any lingering trauma in my body. I'm fine. I've been working with a therapist. I've worked through all my stuff. I've worked with a career coach. I've worked through my stuff. I'm good. I meditate. I do mindfulness. I work out. I do yoga. I'm good. I don't have any trauma that I need to work out. I actually did have some stuff that I released, a 9-year-old wound from an abusive therapist. So I was in 2 abusive relationships when I was in my 20s and my 30s. And after that last one, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I need to figure out a way to, heal myself so that I don't have to have another abusive relationship. So I went to go see a therapist about these relational issues, and this therapist really crossed the line with boundaries and had not just done it to me, but done it to several other of his clients, and really played on my codependent nature and took advantage of me, and really, screwed me up for a long time. And I, have my own responsibility in that, but at the same time, this therapist should have known better. Anyways, I thought I had worked all that out. And obviously there was some stuff that was really, really deep down inside of me where I had felt that my power had been taken away by this guy. I felt like this guy stole a bit of my sovereignty and my agency. And I didn't realize that I was still holding on to that in my body, viscerally, like deep down inside. But through this circular breathing, I was able to let go and release and really feel like I didn't have that in my body anymore. So it's a really amazing technique to use. There may be things that, you may not have experienced trauma with a big capital T. There may not have been that in your life. You may not have had abuse. You may have had a very happy childhood. You may have had the white picket fence and the dog and the parents and the cat and, all of the things that, a normal childhood, has, but you've still experienced some things, disappointments. You may have made some mistakes in your life. You may be holding on to some things that you don't even know that you're holding on to. So not everybody out there has experienced trauma with a big capital T. You may not have experienced abuse issues or addiction issues like I have in the past. You might have had, a happy childhood and, not have experienced any of these things, but everybody's experienced disappointment and everybody's experienced frustration and anger and all of these things that we're taught, you're not supposed to talk about. You're not supposed to talk about your anger. You're not supposed to talk about, when you were upset. You're not supposed to talk about when you were disappointed. You're just supposed to get up and keep going. But the truth about it is that we have to process these feelings and emotions. We have to kind of sit with them. And if we don't sit with them, then they're going to work themselves out in one way or another. So breathwork is one of those ways to help work these things out of your body. So whether you've had trauma with a big capital T or whether you've not had that, happen, you've had those minor disappointments, there's still some cellular imprinting inside the body that happens that breathwork can help release. So the reason that I love this breathing technique is because it really allows for this physiological response and to release this tension that you may be holding on to, that you may not even be aware that you're holding on to. One of the responses that I typically get is I didn't realize that I was holding on to that much tension. I didn't realize that I could yell like that or that I needed to get that yell out during the breath work. So it really creates this feeling in the body of releasing physically, emotionally, and mentally releasing. And sometimes there's a spiritual release or spiritual connection that happens, which has happened to me plenty of times, and it's happened to plenty of the other clients that I've done this work with. So why do I combine tarot with breath work? There may be some stuff that you are working out subconsciously that you're not even aware of on a conscious level. And what the tarot does is help to bring to light those things and help you work them out in a synchronistic way. Even though I may not have a connection with my clients when I'm doing a tarot reading for them, the tarot cards really help to bring to light whatever they are working on subconsciously with their energy. And so when I do a tarot reading before the breath work, we can see what kind of issues they need to maybe work through, even though they may not have had those on their mind consciously. Subconsciously, they can come up through the tarot reading. And then I do a tarot reading afterwards to see how their energy has shifted. And it's typically really different, the before and the after. And then it kind of gives them a map to say, okay, this is what I want to continue working on. This is what I've released through the breath work and the tarot. And now I can move on and start really working through these things that I want to work through, or working towards these goals that I want to work towards. The reason that I love combining tarot and breath work is because you bring the spiritual, metaphysical part of tarot and then the physiological response of breath work, and you combine those for an amazing, unique experience. But I'd love to hear from you. If you want to know more, check out the description box below for my services, or sign up for my newsletter and you can get a weekly 1-card reading and tips and tricks on breathwork, tarot, and other well-being modalities. Till next time, bye.